A new lawsuit blames some social media giants of ignoring research showing their negative impact on teen mental health.
The companies listed are Meta, YouTube, TikTok, and Snapchat.
Yeah, Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes joining us to talk about this. Khalif, what was troubling about some of this is looking at the released court filings. They knew this was damaging and said that we might even look like big tobacco if we continue to hide some of this.
You are all over it. So I talk about it a number of times here. When you have a tort claim, it's duty, breach, causation, and damages, right? This is a product liability claim as well, which has tort components to it. And what you need to be able to show is that causation is the hardest thing. Damages are going to be hard, but if you have the science, if you have the treatment behind it, you can point to damages. You know that you have a duty not to harm people. Did you breach that duty with somebody harmed? Great. That C portion, that causation, was my company the actual cause of your harm? And that's really what this court is saying, that they hid, they buried, they knew that this causal connection between the damage that was happening in the teens and what was their company was doing was a real thing. And how do we know this? Well, Project Mercury, a project that Meta had sanctioned, that went out and hired this company to go out and do this research. When they recognized that the research was not coming out and turning out the way that they wanted it to go, they shut the research down. But that doesn't end the story. And as you mentioned, behind the scenes, their internal researchers were saying, this is not good. This is really, really bad. And they made the connection to big tobacco. I think this is extremely damaging. I said when this case first started, this is the one you want to settle. You don't want to go to trial with this because of this. I said when discovery happens, you're going to have to release everything. And if you're a company as big as Meta, you've done research projects to ensure that your company can grow. But in the process of growing, you find out bad things. In discovery, you got to turn over the good and the bad.
You're a defense attorney. You're also a dad of teens who use social media. How do you defend the companies with what they're doing, but also want, you want your teen to be, mentally strong when it comes to using these products?
I would never say that something is indefensible, right? I've represented folks charged with horrific crimes. I've represented companies that have done, alleged to have done serious things. What I can tell you is that it's a very weird place to be in. While you have a duty on the criminal side that everyone's entitled to representation, but on the civil side, if you believe that your client has a path and you can present them and advocate for them, then you have a duty to do that. But as a parent, seeing these things, knowing that you're putting them at risk, I don't just liken it to tobacco. I liken it to cars in the 60s and 70s when we had seatbelt issues, when cars were catching on fire and companies were bearing information, and then families had to find out from internal people that were working on the studies. That's, I think, more of the problem. I probably connected also to like the PFAs that we're seeing now with the folks that are saying, hey, these are non-stick, items. Now they're causing cancer. And they knew it years ago, and they were bearing the documents. Those are the types of things that I say are having long-term effects on people way down the road. So the teen question is, we don't know. Because this isn't a cancer. This is more a health crisis or a mental health crisis. The effects on our children, they may not come out to their 30, to their 40, and they have developmental issues that probably were prolonged because their growth may be stunted by these things, by this disassociation with society, because now, as their own studies show, there is a feeling of depression and unhappiness. And when I walk away, I'm less likely to be depressed.
And one of those internal memos said IG, Instagram is a drug, and we're basically pushers. So this is filed in Northern California. They say, these companies, under Section 230, that they're protected from this. That's a law that shields companies from liability for users' posts.
Yeah.
Is that a valid argument?
Nope, not even a little bit. I've stood behind the social media companies for the entire time that they've made that as their shield. Section 230 protects them to be a platform. It's if I put something up there and you don't like it or it's something negative or it's a danger or a threat, the company now can't be sued because of what I said. If they didn't have that protection, no one would post anything. Meta would say, hey, every time someone hits enter, they're subjected to being sued. You have to create that protection or we don't have an internet. However, if you're promoting it, if you're now sanctioning it, if you're pushing it, the 230 protections are gone. Now it's just not you're a third-party supplier, you are the vendor.
Again, our Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes weighing in on that. Khalif, thank you.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.